This is Quarantine Chronicles, episode 24 for May 16th, Sunday. To my virtual left, we have Jason.
Hello.
To my virtual right, we have Angel.
What's up?
What is up? And today we have a banging, I actually don't know if I can say banging episode lined up for you listeners.
Is that a controversial word?
Yeah, why can't you say banging?
Okay, well, we'll just leave it in then. I'm not going to exactly bring up why we can't say banging.
I mean, I could guess, but I mean, it's slang these days in the same way that calling a song a bop apparently is. So you call this episode a bop if you want to be extra PG.
Who calls things a bop?
The internet, Gen Z, I don't know.
Huh. Are we? Oh no, we're millennials.
Nah, we're millennials. At least Angel and I are. I assume you are too. You're not that much younger.
Yeah, millennial. 93? I'm pretty sure I'm a millennial.
Yeah, you're a millennial. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all broke. What's up with you guys?
Well, I don't know. It's been an interesting 2 weeks since the last QC. Media consumption has been relatively low because I've been creating media, as I think I've mentioned last time. Just been animating some stuff, working on just a lot through Maya, learning how to model. Things are coming together. Pretty excited about finally finishing that because I've literally had no real free time. Like, I just kind of come home, animate, sleep, wake up, go to work. During my breaks, I work on this stuff, and yeah, I kind of want to get to a point where I'm just consistently animating and doing some fun side projects so that I don't feel like I have to do like a 2-month long boot camp of this kind of stuff. But besides that, yeah, it's been good. It's been chill. Enjoying life.
Cool. How about you, Jason?
I was going to say, he's right that like a lot has happened last 2 weeks because I feel like, not to trample on our COVID update segment, but like the world kind of reopened a little in the last 2 weeks. Like it's in
that case, let's get into it. Jason, do the jingle.
Sure. Oh, light at the end of the tunnel. COVID.
Oh, God.
That wasn't even a song. That was a spoken word. I don't know what that was.
You were trying to be sexual with it, too.
I don't know what I was trying to do, but it did not work. And I regret every syllable. I regret every syllable. I'm just so excited for the world to reopen, I guess. I don't know. But
yeah, as far as the SoCal COVID update, California is knocking it out of the park, as we've stated multiple times. I believe the number is 55% of Californians are vaccinated.
Yeah. That's the latest number
or SoCal?
California. Pretty good. California's at 55%.
That's extremely
SoCal's
good for how stubborn this country is about crap like this.
Yeah. LA, like SoCal or LA County, they're hoping by July we'll hit herd immunity at the current rate we're going, which is wild to say
awesome.
out loud.
But Jason, you were able to go to a concert because of being vaccinated, right?
Yes. So I don't know if anyone out there, I know. So it was so weird. I don't know if anyone out there has heard about that Vax Live special they aired on TV about a week ago. It was basically Global Citizen, who does all sorts of philanthropy. They put together this show with some big artists and big presenters to just sort of pitch to people who aren't vaccinated why you should get vaccinated, and also to pitch to world leaders the importance of equity in vaccines and making sure that, here in California we got our 55%, but there are places where the vaccine isn't accessible and where they need it perhaps much more, like, India right now is being torn apart.
So it was like a TED Talk?
COVID. No, it wasn't a TED Talk. It was like a telethon without the fundraising factor. So basically they were trying to bring attention to it by doing this thing where you tune in and you listen to music, and then hopefully in between that there's these little segments where you get the message that you should demand some vaccine equity and you should go get vaccinated yourself. And then they also have a bunch of corporate sponsors who donated millions to get vaccines to different countries and that sort of thing. So originally, so this is the secret about it. So it was billed publicly that the entire stadium was full of first responders. Like any TV taping, they still needed seat fillers, it turned out. So everyone that was near the stage were legit first responders, but then the rest of the stadium, which they filled to about 26,000 out of the 70,000 capacity at the new SoFi Stadium here in SoCal, which, by the way, we were the very first crowd ever in there, which is kind of cool. But the rest of it, they gave the option to responders if they want it, and then any extra tickets, they just started emailing Live Nation customers and being like, hey, you want to come? It's free, because they just needed bodies and seats, essentially. So, like, everyone on camera was first responders. Everyone that was close to the action was first responders. But if you're in, like, the actual arena, like, sitting up a little higher, those were a mix of just random vaccinated people.
Wait,
So what the kind...
So,
Yeah.
sorry. But the
Go
people
ahead.
who got the emails from Live Nation, did they just surpass the vaccination requirement, or did they still need?
Yes. You still need vaccine. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay,
how it
gotcha.
worked is you got So you got this email, or I got this email. It's just like, hey, as long as you're fully vaccinated by this date, meaning you're past your 2-week window, you're good to go. Come on down. It's free. And they did vaccine pre-checks where they took over a few venues around LA, and you could go in the days leading up to the concert and get a wristband that they actually put on you and tightened kind of tight so you couldn't, give it to someone. If you show your vaccination card, and then when you got there, they again had to check everyone's wristbands and that sort of thing. But yeah, once we were in, it was like a concert, and it was, well, being in that environment was like a concert. The actual show I'll get to in a sec, but yeah, they filled it, like I said, like 26,000 or so out of 70,000. They had some social distancing where you could only sit in pairs of 2 in any given row, but they stacked the aisles, so to speak. So there are people in the row in front of us or behind us, but next to us, we did have a gap in the seat to our right. And they had you wear masks, but they also gave us little snack bags, and everyone could, pull down their mask to eat or whatever, but then you had to put it back up. And this was pre the new CDC guidance about not needing masks if you're fully vaccinated. So, which is only a matter of time until they said it. But, yeah, so, like, still people were masked up and that sort of thing. And then it was just weird to be back in this environment where there, again, 26,000 people all, like, singing along to songs, and, like, being a crowd and cheering and, like, having a show below you. And it was very kind of surreal to be, like, back in that. And they really leaned into it, too, because they had the performers were J-Lo, J Balvin, Eddie Vedder, Her, who just won an Oscar, and Foo Fighters, who closed out the show. And I was mainly there for Foo Fighters. But they had each performer do 2 songs, except Foo Fighters, who just tore through like 8 songs, and brought out the dude from AC/DC and performed Back in Black with him, which was kind of a cool surprise.
Angus Young?
No, Brian Johnson, is that his name? I don't remember his name. But the lead singer from AC/DC.
Oh.
But yeah, they and they leaned into the crowd thing because they had J-Lo. One of the 2 songs she did wasn't even hers. It was "Sweet Caroline," which is like one of the go-to karaoke songs for like people that like to go on cruises or in their 40s maybe. But the point is, it was like a huge sing-along. Like, she did it as a sing-along. She brought her mom up who was just vaccinated, and she like led the sing-along of the entire stadium singing along, and it was weird. It was cool to be back in that environment, but it was definitely a little weird to like, hear a crowd that you're in do something with like that sort of, because when you do a sing along, that mass crowd feeling, like, it's weird to now after so long of don't be in crowds, be distanced, don't do anything, to have that again was extremely strange. And then Foo Fighters, like I said, they closed out with 8 songs, which was like great. But it was interesting, the concert as a whole, because it wasn't actually a concert in the regular sense. They filmed it for TV. So things were shot out of order. They had, like, some of the presenters. It was hosted by Selena Gomez. She kept flubbing her lines because she was nervous, because she actually is advocating for this and wanted to, like, do right by it. So she was flubbing her lines. They had to redo those. They had, like, one of the performances, Her was actually in the parking lot, like, kind of like when they cut in the award show. It's like an outside performance. Prince Harry was there and got weirdly the loudest crowd response of anyone there. Yeah, it was just like a whole bunch of stuff that was shot randomly and out of order, and there's a lot of sitting and waiting for them to like build sets on stage. Like J Balvin was in like a rotating moon and things like that. So they told us, hey, it's for TV, bear with us, it'll be fine. Then you go watch the TV show a week later, and it's treated like, hey, these are highlights from this really awesome concert you missed. And I'm like, well, was it for TV or was it a concert? It was like this weird in-between where they each variation of it said the other one is what it actually was, quote unquote, so bear with it type of thing. But it was just cool to be back in that environment. And I'm not trying to knock it. Like, the amount of effort that went into it has to be insane. They built a set in the middle of the stadium. They, had like a who's who, like Letterman was there, Kimmel was there, Ben Affleck, Olivia Munn, Chrissy Teigen. It was a lot. They had the Pope have a pre-recorded video message. They had Biden have a pre-recorded video message. Like, it was a pretty big, like, selection of high-profile people that were all pushing for this equity in vaccines and the importance of getting vaccinated. So it was really cool that they did all this. It was just kind of funny how they were like framing it differently to different audiences, and neither was quite the like honest thing that happened. But it was pretty cool, and it was great to be like back in that environment. And it was free, so I really can't complain at all. But yeah, it was definitely strange. And they did require vaccination.
I mean, you're like our resident concert junkie, I would say.
Yeah, I used to go like 4 or 5 a year, or try to. Maybe no, that's a lot. It was like 2 to 3. One year it was like 3 in 2 weeks. Yeah, one year I did Camp Flog Gnaw, which is a festival out here at Dodger Stadium, and then the night before that, I think I did a Mike Shinoda show. A couple nights before that, I did a band called Sir Sly, and then the week after all that, I did Complex Con, which had its own lineup of artists for 2 nights. My ears probably lost like 10 years of their life from just that 10 days. But yeah, it was really cool to be back. And what was really nice is the Foo Fighter like closeout. That was, they basically came out and were just, and again, that's what I was there for, but they basically came out and were like, all right, this is a rock show now, and just sort of like took over. And only one of the songs made it on TV, but they just played for like 40 minutes straight. So it did literally become a Foo Fighter show, which is perfect. So yeah, so that was kind of the concert, but it was weird to be back. And I feel like that, I don't know what the switch was for you guys. I imagine there has been now that we're all vaccinated, but at some point, like for me, the concert was like the switch was flipped, and suddenly like the world was kind of open again. And like I've been doing more things. I've done stuff for my girlfriend's family. I've like saw you yesterday, Angel, in person. Like it feels like the momentum's picking up now. Like do you guys have like a moment where it's like, okay, you're back? Like have you seen anyone, done anything?
Personally, go for it. Personally, yeah, I did hang out with friends on Monday. We were all vaxxed. And one of our friends who we've talked about in the show before, Matthew, he flew in from Utah, because he had to babysit his family's house that's over here while they were gone. And so we hung out, so it was good to see him. But yeah, it was like, now I'm just hanging out with friends in person, as opposed to like doing it over Discord, I mean, like
right.
Us three, we still haven't hung out, but that's not to say that we can't anymore. Like, while before it was like, nope, we should absolutely stay home. But like no major change as far as the CDC mask stuff that just came out. The CDC did say that if you're vaccinated, that you are okay to not be wearing a mask. I don't see me personally getting rid of that soon. Just based on my job, and then it's so hard just to say, it's hard to tell who's actually vaxxed or not.
And that's kind of the thing about it, is like, I understand, like, obviously if we trusted the science enough to know we need to mask up, we need a distance, we need to stay home, we should trust the science when they say, okay, you can loosen up a bit. But like, I feel like that's only true if you know people around you are vaccinated. That's kind of thing. Like, they are saying officially, if you're vaccinated, you're in the clear. 95% chance you're not going to get anything. If you get it, it's mild or asymptomatic. It's no different than like a light flu. Like, it's safe, quote unquote. But I don't know. It's just like there's something. I didn't get sick all of last year. Like, there's something to be said for the mask, regardless of the COVID stuff. It's not like they're saying you can't wear a mask, but it definitely feels like sort of a weird area, because most of the country is not at such a high vaccination rate as California, that, like, I don't know, it almost felt premature, but it's not like I'm an expert on this. It just kind of, that was my gut feeling when I heard it, was it just was a little premature. I don't know. Like, but we'll see. But it's just odd to, like, suddenly have this hesitation when we trusted the science up to this point and be like, oh, but we could take the masks off? I don't know. But I totally have that feeling.
I mean, personally, I'm not going to take the mask off just for other people. Not for myself, I guess, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Yeah, and, like, if I'm out, like, in a store, I'm still going to wear it. I mean, a lot of stores still mandate it, but some are starting to loosen up. Trader Joe's won't require it once the states don't, or the cities don't. Walmart won't. Costco won't. Those are just the ones I saw yesterday. Walgreens still will, because they do COVID testing and vaccines there. But, yeah, I think, like, publicly I'll probably still wear them for a bit, but it is nice and weird to, like, walk into someone's house and I don't have to have a mask on, and I have to distance, and yeah, it's nice. It's just, it's weird how, like, normal it feels, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely how I felt. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I don't remember what weekend it was. Maybe it was a Mother's Day weekend. We went to my cousin's house, and everyone there has been fully vaccinated, so that was like the first time we went indoors somewhere where we didn't have our mask, and that was kind of like where it felt like, oh, I think they're kind of normal again. Because also, we would go over their house to, have like steak and stuff, like maybe like once a month, or maybe like not as frequent, but it was definitely like a regular thing that we just haven't done in over a year. So doing that again just felt really nice. And also because they're huge movie buffs, we're like, hey, we should try to go to like rent out a movie theater, just because that just seemed like a fun idea. Like now that those are way more accessible, not super cheap, but I mean, I guess like it's like essentially $250 to $300 to rent out a screen, and you get to pick any movie you want from all the ones that are currently available, and it's up to 20 people. So if you do fill it up, it comes down to about $15 per person. And we were trying to look for a Godzilla vs. Kong one, and the only one we were able to find was in Norwalk, which is not too far from us, but
very far from me now.
Oh yeah, Jason moved into quarantine.
It's like over an hour away, maybe. Hopefully not with no traffic on Sunday, but
yeah. So that was also kind of like another, like, I guess, hurdle. Like, yep, we're committing to, I guess, a big outing, because who knows how many people. I mean, right now I think we're like at 11 people, which is, we got all the main people. I mean, unfortunately Jason's going, but what are you gonna do?
Well, it is, to your point, it is a big outing, because that is the first full random Nintendo reunion where all three of us will be together since quarantine began.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna bring that up.
Is someone gonna bring it up? I feel like it would have been me, and I already did just now.
So. No, watch. If it's not you, it's definitely gonna be somebody else. I'm calling Victor.
Well, I'm not gonna bring it up. Yeah. Actually, it might be. You're right. Yeah, he might say something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I almost feel like, well, first of all, the lack of mask off jokes on Twitter. Thank God. I was worried so many people the second half are going to start linking to that Future video. So I'm glad that didn't happen. But
the what?
What was I going to say? The song "Mask Off" by Future. Like the second the CDC announced it, I thought that'd be all over Twitter. It surprisingly wasn't. But the thing I was going to say is, I think we're going to have to take the masks off for Little Me's pretty soon on the Quarantine Chronicle logo and stuff. If people are watching this on YouTube, you know what I'm talking about. It's right there on the thumbnail. Yeah, it's winding down. It's weird.
Yeah, we're gonna need a name
change. Like
Kevin
said, I mean,
yeah, we're gonna need a name change.
I mean, the mask has become kind of a part of my identity. I mean, I've even got like multiple masks to just pick. Like, do I want to go black blobby pattern or cockatiels?
Oh, I just go, which blank white surgical-ish mask should I wear? Like, what KN95 should I grab today? This older one or this newer one?
Kind of even want to grab one of those original Stitch ones from Pokemon. Or one of the Pokemon original Stitch ones.
Yeah, I never got... It's funny because I was starting to kind of contemplate, like, maybe I should get, like, a cool mask. Like, we're in this for the long haul. Because, like, epidemiologists or whatever they're called were saying, like, you're going to be wearing a mask for a year. And then, the next week the CDC say, psych. But, yeah, I was actually kind of considering it. And I guess I don't need to now. Good thing I didn't order it, like, 2 days ago, only for it to be announced the next day.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that a lot of those designs from original Stitch, some of them look great as shirts, but some of them kind of don't. And having a mask as an alternative kind of works better for some of them. So it's like, I didn't know if I wanted a Magmar shirt, but I really want something Magmar related. So yeah, I think a mask is the next best alternative. Because you could also get a handkerchief. And I think they also just announced that you could get aprons, because why not?
Oh.
Yeah.
Now that I cook, but nothing that requires an apron, it's tempting.
That's right. You're one of them peeps.
Cookers. Yeah, listen to the Angel and Jason Power Hour for our unsponsored Blue Apron sponsored content, essentially, where I just rant about them. Actually, now I think about it, I guess I could still get a mask, because it's not like I'm going to not wear a mask in public or in certain settings all the time. I'm still good. Even though, to Kevin, to your point, even though CDC said we don't have to, like, there's still situations where I'm definitely going to. So maybe I do explore some masks.
Maybe.
Yeah, I bought a couple of masks off of Etsy, probably mid-pandemic. Like, I bought a Persona 5 mask. That's got like the bold red, black, and white stars kind of deal.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I do not use it at all though, because I remember taking it to the gym, and it was really actually pretty hard to breathe on like when I was on the treadmill. I was like, this is disgusting, and then it got all soggy and like no.
Right.
So I rarely use it. So I just use like standard surgical ones that have like some sort of print on them.
That's what I was about to say. It's one of the nice things about like the more standard like KN95s or whatever is they're lighter and they're more breathable because they're built for that purpose. So like it is easier to go to the gym, says someone who never goes to the gym or whatever with it, I would imagine.
But you Ring Fit Adventure, so... But it's not like
you're
going to wear it while...
in my own apartment.
Unless you do it outside. I mean, the Switch can do that.
Well, it's funny. Our TV is in a window, so I could just go stand in front of our front door looking
in a window
doing Ring Fit with a mat. What?
It's like on a windowsill or something, or what?
No, it's like when you look through our front window, like next to our front door, the TV's like perfectly centered in it on the other side of the room. I could probably see it. It's really just like, hey, come rob us is basically what it's saying. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right. Well, unless you guys got anything else.
What's your address again?
I'm not gonna put this on broadcast. But Angel, for you, it's one. No.
Fair enough.
Cool.
Fair enough.
Cool. Unless you guys got anything else, guess we can move on to the meat of the episode.
Yeah, that works.
Go for it.
Yeah, next thing we talked about. I mean, we mentioned that Jason and I saw a movie yesterday, which was, I guess, the second weirdly normal, just hangout.
Like we just got some pizza and watched a movie. It was like,
and definitely to emphasize just how normal it felt. Like, I don't know if it's because, like, I typically, like, pre-quarantine days, I would see Jason about once a week, like, because of the podcast. Or, yeah. Actually, yeah, because
we're friends.
Oh, fine, sure. I guess that too. Yeah, that's true, because it was every other week. He would come over for the podcast, we'd hang out, like, Kevin, Jason, and I. And then on the off weeks,
usually get burritos at like 1 in the morning.
We would typically do something on Saturdays. And sometimes we would see him on Sunday as well. So, we saw him pretty frequently. And especially now in quarantine, I feel like this kind of also had an impact on it. But, we have, on Wednesdays, we stream and play games. On Mondays, we play games. And then, now we also have the podcast every week. So we had like 3 separate interactions outside of any random calls we might have during the week. Yeah. So when I finally saw him in person, it almost felt like it hadn't been that long since I see him. It felt like, oh, it's just Jason. Except with short hair.
What threw me off was your hair. Yeah, no, because you have...
what threw me off was your hair, because I was expecting it to be huge.
Oh, no, I got a haircut this week, yeah. But
yeah,
actually, you know what really made it feel most normal, and then we can talk about the movie we actually watched together, but you know what made it feel most normal was when we were leaving, and you said, see you next week. Because next week is when we're all doing Godzilla in the movie theater together, and I was like, whoa. Yeah, see you next week. Like, we're back. The cadence is back. Like, it's not like this weird fluke where we just happen to slip through some, like, COVID wall. We're like, haha, we can see each other. Like, it's, like, back to normal. Yeah. And that's when it really sunk in when we were driving away. And I was just like, huh, he said next week. That's only a week from now. Weird. So.
Yeah, we did say the usual, like, oh, I guess this is the end, or never seen you again. But yeah, I guess we're not that much back.
Oh, yeah, that would have been more normal, you're right. For you to basically act like we're no longer friends. That's pretty much what you did every time we split up. But, yes, to the me and...
I don't want to go for it, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it was also just nice to finally give Jason some gifts, some birthday gifts that my brother and I had given him, that we've been just holding for a long time.
Oh, man, okay. We're going to go on one more small tangent. These guys get me. So they gave me a belated Hanukkah gift, which was an anthology of every Nintendo 64 game ever released.
It wasn't belated. We bought it on time.
But belated in the sense of it's not Hanukkah in late May.
Yeah.
Which isn't your doing. Or mid-May, which isn't your doing. But
Gotcha.
And it's literally every N64 game ever released, along with the hardware, the bundles, the controllers. It's like, it's me in book form, basically. And that, or why I strive to be, I guess, as a Nintendo fan. And then, separately for my birthday, they got me, I don't know if you've seen this, Kevin, it's this light-up, like, authentic, realistic, if a Pokeball was a real thing, Pokeball, like, it's like this, it comes in, like, a case, and when you open the case, like, it lifts up out, and there's, like, a light that comes out from under it.
It has a proximity sensor for some reason.
Yeah, so it has a proximity sensor, so when you come close to it, the button on the ball will light up, like it does in the TV show and the games and stuff. And it has like actual heft to it, like a Pokeball would, and it has like different lights that signal different things. And it's like, it's made to sit on a shelf and be displayed, which is exactly the type of collectible that I go for. And it's Nintendo. So it was like, yeah, 2 for 2, Angel. Well done. And thank you again. Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty slick. But the reason we actually met up was we were watching, to the meat and potatoes of the episode, we were watching The Mitchells versus the Machines.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but great things about this movie.
And they are correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, caveat though, I visually, like, I really enjoyed the movie, and the story was great. I don't know what it was about it. I think the writing really helped, just because, I don't know, I think I'm used to seeing a lot more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but everything was predictable, for lack of a better term. I know it's not trying to be like subtle or anything, but like you know where everything is going, almost like right before everything. Like I mean, it's not even trying to be subtle. It's almost like
a little.
Yeah, it was incredibly tropey. Like, and there were a few jokes that I felt like oh, this joke is kind of going on just like a little too longer. Like if they cut it by like maybe 2 seconds, like it almost went from like oh funny to almost cringy. But I definitely felt like oh yeah, this is like more so a family movie than even Disney Pixar ones are, because Disney Pixar movies like they're for the whole family, but they usually try to hone in on something that more specifically adults will feel like, oh man, this hits home really hard. And this one does kind of have that to a certain extent, but for the most part,
Angel,
it felt like
if we were dads, I think it would resonate.
Oh yeah.
Without saying too much, if we were dads.
But this one, I felt like you could definitely tell like their target audience was aimed just a little younger, just like by the type of humor, and a lot of it, a lot of it did land, but there was a lot of it that was also like oh yeah, like I kept thinking like, oh man, this would be a great movie to watch with like my niece and nephew or something like that. Like they would love this. Not that I didn't love it. I mean, it was still a funny movie, but yeah, it was very. It definitely feels different in that sense, I guess.
What I think it achieved really well, though, is, one, the animation style, which I'm sure you have lots to say about, Angel, but what I was going to say is, so this is the third, I guess you could say, movie in the series of attempts by various studios to capture internet culture. We had the Emoji Movie, which was just like, look, the internet. We had Wreck-It Ralph, which was like, look, the internet. And now we have this, which was like how the internet is actually used by people, if that makes sense. Like this feels like it was trying to do like the kind of like, oh, we get internet culture in an actual way that impacts kids and teens and that sort of thing. Like it was not, hey, we're going to Facebook headquarters. It was, here's filters. Here's how like you use your phone. Here's like what kids find funny based on like even the way the animation style.
Without needing to floss, that was like.
Yes, no flossing. I mean, there were definitely some moments in it where it felt like they were leaning on those sorts of like, haha, funny meme, look, it's a gorilla. And it felt kind of like it was like a parallel to the things like Sonic flossing in the Sonic movie, but because they weren't direct riffs on actual things, it kind of worked. Like they had filters and then they had a joke about like a cat filter, but it wasn't like, oh, it's the Snapchat ghost filter. Like it wasn't that blatant. It was its own little like in its own world.
Yeah, it definitely thing, so it's gonna age a lot better than all the other ones.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I do think that like even the visual style, the way they have it like this really cool 3D style that Angel, maybe you could explain better than I can. But then on top of it, they do these flashes of like 2D animation that were kind of like either like basically an emoji for the character. That could be like a broken heart when they're sad or something like that, or it'd have like these bursts of color, or like if they're happy to be a rainbow that shoots behind them. And even that, like to me, it felt like that was that sort of
movie that did something similar.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim did similar. Yeah.
Oh
and
no,
Scott Pilgrim did
the other one. I mean, that one did for sure.
Scott Pilgrim. Wait, the other one, Paper Hearts or whatever it's called.
Is it the one where he's like a rebel or evil? There's like an evil version of him.
Oh, yeah, and he has a mustache.
Youth and Revolt.
Youth and Revolt.
That movie was very, very weird compared to its marketing.
It was. It very much was. They were leaning so hard on Michael Cera as a big star now, and even though the movie was not that type of like star vehicle. But yeah, it like the way they did that sort of like 2D animation stuff around it, it felt like to me like, oh, they're totally capturing how the world is perceived for kids through their phones now, where they put stickers and frames and filters and all sorts of stuff on top of it to sort of like bring out the character and personality of what they're trying to share. So I thought even that was like kind of a more appropriate way to address like internet culture than how Wreck-It Ralph 2 or Emoji Movie did.
It's actually just kind of hitting me, but like a lot of the timing and humor is almost 1-to-1 with a lot of the more popular shows on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, like, no, it's 100% like the rapid fire, you don't have an attention span, everything needs to move type of.
Yeah, because like I feel like I've seen like the exact same jokes like in like The Amazing World of Gumball or especially Teen Titans Go. There's like so much of Teen Titans Go in this movie, especially like the whole like freeze frame giant name comes out, like giant text.
But that's just, I mean, both of them are just referencing other stuff. I mean, this movie
yeah.
Old references too, which was kind of random, and by a bunch I mean like two.
Yeah, but I mean, but more than anything, like I definitely get I guess the feeling that everyone working on the movie just had a lot of fun with it. Like, it definitely felt like someone's like passion project. Kind of like how Spider-Verse in the same way, like, also just felt like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this Spider-Man movie just the way we want, like, just no holds barred. And like they're both from Sony, which is, I don't know, quickly becoming one of my favorite animation studios. Like, even before Spider-Verse, they already had my attention, and maybe I'm sure Jason as well, just because they had Phil Lord and Chris Miller's Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, that studio, like, say what you will about them having produced the Emoji Movie, or I guess now for Hotel Transylvania's, like, just the style at which they animate everything or just present themselves is just incredibly interesting. Like, they're the ones that really pushed for cartoony animation in CG films that actually worked. Like, especially, I mean, it kind of started with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, where everything was so, like, rubber hosey and stretchy. And
punny. So many puns, especially in the sequel. So good.
Because, like, where, like, Disney and Pixar, like, they both have their CG films, and, yeah, like, they're all very much fiction. A lot of the animation stuff is still grounded in, like, real-life physics. Like, you don't really get the kind of exaggerations you get, especially in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I mean, when they're running, like I said, like, their arms and limbs look like pretty much like noodles. It's like, and especially Hotel Transylvania, like, if for anything, I would just recommend watching the first two just for, like, the animation alone, because, damn, it's amazing. Just, like, the extent that these rigs are pushed, it's almost like things that you didn't think were even possible in CG, but they just do really well. And it almost makes it feel like, yeah, CG can be as cool, and sometimes, like, it's just, it gives it more of a presence than it did before when compared to 2D. Because I feel like a lot of people, especially the older you get, maybe if you ask someone, they're going to say, like, oh yeah, 2D is always way better. Or like, oh yeah, 2D is like the best kind of animation. And yeah, like, there's some examples of amazing 2D stuff that it's hard to deny, like, oh yeah, that's amazing. And CG can do amazing things, but I don't know, I feel like we're starting to get to that point, especially with these last few Sony movies where, Spider-Verse and Mitchell's, where they just really experiment with it. And, part of it is adding 2D elements, like, just not limiting themselves to it. It all has to be CG. Like, Spider-Verse had all the outlines and a lot of things drawn by hand, just to give it, more of a comic book aesthetic. This one, more so than anything, just uses a lot of, like Jason mentioned, the 2D animation on top of, the CG animation. And even then, like, the rigs, you could tell, are very much, like, all their limbs, every finger, everything is just meant to be broken and just, I don't know, just flow along a nice, smooth, and wacky line of action. I don't know.
Do you know what software they use for this movie?
I don't, but I'm willing to bet it's proprietary, because a lot of these studios, like, especially like Sony, Illumination, DreamWorks, like, they usually all have their own special one.
I did not know that. I thought everybody would use, like, the industry usual stuff, like Maya or something.
No, yeah, that'd be more when you get to, like, maybe some third tier studios. Yeah, but for sure, those big ones all have their own first party software, especially because not all of them, I'm sure, are, like, optimized to do that specific kind of animation, or at least handle it the way they wanted to.
Gotcha.
And, but yeah, I don't know, definitely, spectacularly visual movie, and, fun story as well. The kids and especially the two robot.
So what exactly is the movie about?
Oh yeah, we never said. So this is the only part that maybe skews more towards an older audience a little, in that the movie is ultimately about how, without spoiling anything, it's ultimately about everything wrong with how tech-focused our world is. So the premise is essentially the kids are obsessed with their tech. The dad is kind of a more outdoorsy woodsman type of dude. The mom's just trying to keep the peace, and the dad keeps trying to do stuff with the kids, but the kids are glued to their electronics, and ultimately that's led to a rift between the dad and his daughter, and she's about to go off to college. She's super into making videos on YouTube. He doesn't get it. They kind of get each other, so he sort of strong arms due to him breaking her laptop the night before college. He sort of like, well, you know what? Like, you don't have a laptop, so we're going to do a road trip to college, and we're going to, like, reconnect over it. And the movie was actually originally called Connected, which was kind of where that was going. But then, as they start going on their trip, a company called PAL, which is sort of Facebook meets Apple meets Google, announces a new phone assistant, except it's not a phone assistant, it's a robot. But then you learn within about 10 minutes of the movie, the robots are actually have minds of their own and are going to take over the world. So it becomes the Mitchells. So it starts with the Mitchells versus the machines, and then it's the family fighting over their technology taking up too much of their time. But it literally becomes versus the machines when the machines have an uprising and try and take over the world, and they end up having to sort of survive it and try and save it. That's essentially it.
Gotcha. So it's a family-friendly Terminator, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Excellent way to put it. Wow.
Yeah, and a road trip movie as well.
I don't know how the Terminator connection.
There's like hints of There's hints of like Goofy movie in here.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely an inspiration. Yeah, it's but yes, that's kind of the premise, and then they sort of play with that in different ways, and it's there's nothing, like to Angel's point earlier, there's nothing like you could probably predict how it's all going to play out right now, but it's more about like
it didn't detract from the enjoyment,
interactions of the characters. Yeah,
it was so fun. I mean, I don't know, it was definitely just a pleasure just seeing the characters move and talk and interact. I mean,
and honestly,
everything was just fun.
And honestly, the tech parody stuff, while I mean, like, obviously other shows have done it in a way that's more adult-oriented, like Silicon Valley, for example. Some of the lines they have in the tech parodying thing, where Eric Andre plays the big CEO of this company called PAL, some of that, like, there's some lines that are definitely aimed at the parents versus the kids. And some of the, like, stuff about what the company does is definitely more like, oh, yeah, like, a kid's not going to understand what that means. But a parent will be like, so true. So... yeah, that's probably the most where it's not aimed at kids. It's just with the like tech monopolistic characteristics that sort of shine through. But yeah, it's a fun movie, and Conan's in it randomly. Conan O'Brien, which
I
was very proud to say. The second he started talking,
jumped out of his seat and was like, Conan.
No, I just like, hey, that's
someone grab him, hold him down.
Yeah, I started floating away. Yeah,
no, I just back on Jason.
I was already unbuckling my pants. No, but I was saying, like, we're sitting there, I'm like, that's Conan. I'm pretty sure it's Conan. And then, like, of course, the second his name shows up in the credits, I'm like, there it is, Conan. I told you guys. And I was so proud of myself. but yeah, it's a fun movie.
So this movie kind of came out of nowhere for me, where I just saw it on my Twitter feed, and then, like, on Ionine and stuff like that, where, I think it was on The Verge. I was like, why did I not hear about this movie like pre-release at all? Because it came out, it's a Netflix movie, right?
So sort of. Originally, Sony was going to put it in theaters, and originally, like I was saying before, it's called Connected. Then the pandemic hit, and things got real quiet. It was supposed to come out in September, I think, of 2020. So much so that in the movie, there's shots that are done through like the main character's camcorder, and the date on it says September 2020. So clearly, they're not adhering to the pandemic social distancing rules, but. It's supposed to come out last year. Sony then kind of got cold feet because this was the period where no movies were coming out and nothing was really doing well. So they sold it to Netflix for $110 million, which is probably less than it would have gotten if they put it in theaters, say, this fall. But they didn't know what was going to happen. So then it sort of went to Netflix. At some point, the name changed to the Mitchells versus the Machines. It might have changed when it was still under Sony. I'm not sure. And then, Netflix just kind of sat on it. And then are essentially, because Netflix doesn't really care as much about big, like, blowout first weekends, they're kind of just letting it coast. So it's been in, like, the top 5 movies on Netflix for a couple weeks now. It was, I think, number 4 when we were watching it yesterday. And the most marketing I've seen is, weirdly, the nearest gas station to me, like, right up the street, was one of 2 in the country that Netflix turned into, like, a brand activation. So they had in the movie, they go to a gas station called Dino Stop. They turned it into Dino Stop, but then they had all the gas pumps branded as PAL Labs, and they had people dressed as the robots from the movie distributing gas to people.
Yeah, the picture.
And like the whole gas station was completely, like redone. Like it was a 76, but all the branding was erased. They put up lights, and they had like fake screens, and they had like a photo op, and it was kind of cool. It's weird that like in a pandemic, like the best you could do for like promoting your movie is like, like it used to be like, oh, we'll go to Comic-Con, like people can walk through the world. Now it's like, I guess we'll paint a gas station for a weekend. But nonetheless, it was kind of cool. And that's the most publicity I've seen for the movie at all. Like no commercials, no, it kind of flew under the radar.
If it wasn't for the fact that one of the people I follow on Twitter is an old classmate that I had when I was doing Animation Mentor back in 2017. They had already worked in the animation industry for a while, like in games. I think they animated it in Shadow of Mordor or one of the Lord of the Rings games. But then they wanted to do film animation, and immediately after finishing Animation Mentor, they got picked up by Sony, so they worked on Spider-Verse. I know they animated the shot of Miles' dad inside the cop car, and the one where he's in the alley when he finds his brother.
Did he do that sad scene? Oh.
Yeah, it sounds like he had like a lot of emotional scenes. Oh, he also did that
seriously.
shot of all the Spider-Men, all the spider people on the ceiling, like crawling next to each other, trying to hide from the roommate. I don't know if you remember
that's
that.
a good one.
But yeah, I remember like right as soon as that movie wrapped up, he tweeted out like, oh man, if you like the animation style of this movie, just wait till the next one. And then like a couple months later, he just tweeted out like the title. And then he would just kind of tweet out every once in a while, like whenever he could reveal stuff, like with more tidbits about the movie. And that was kind of how like, I'm just like, oh, I wonder what this is. And then, eventually turned to connected and whatnot. But
frankly, I only know.
But other than that, but other than that, Twitter, I never heard.
I don't follow them on Twitter. I mean, I just love their work, like all the stuff they've done. So when it was announced that they have a new project, I was like, and I kept an eye on it the entire time. But yeah, to normal people, you had your animator buddy. I had 2 producers I know the name of, and if you're not following your animator buddy or the 2 producers I know the name of, I don't know how you would have heard about this.
Directed it? I know, like they showed the names at the end, but I wonder if they're known.
It was hold on. I could tell you one of their names.
Good job. We can't just give all the credit to Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
No, yeah, and producers are not directors, and this was a passion project for a director.
Same thing for the Ninja Turtle movie, which in that case, it's like everyone pretty much gives credit to Michael Bay, even though it was directed by some other person.
I can only tell you one of their names because I took a photo of the gas station that was rebranded and tweeted it, and then within like 2 minutes, the director of the movie liked the tweet, or one of the directors. So I could tell you his name because I could just go through my Twitter real quick, but I don't know the other one.
The other one,
because there's a pair, I think, just like Spider-Verse was a couple people.
Yeah, I think Spider-Verse 2 is also going to be that, or is that what you meant?
Yeah, Spider-Verse 2 is going to be 3 people.
Yeah,
maybe 4.
So Spider-Verse,
Michael
the
Rianda.
first one had 3 people on it, and then they decided to go 3 people again for the sequel, but it's not the same 3.
No, that's kind of the weirdest part. Like, at least keep one person, but I don't know.
But yeah, Michael Rianda was a director, maybe the director on Mitchell vs. the Machines. He also was the creative director of Gravity Falls, so there's a through line there with everything Phil Lord and Chris Miller have done.
Wait, Gravity Falls was Phil Lord and Chris Miller?
Yep. It's one of their early projects.
Huh. I hear that show's great, too.
It is pretty great.
I haven't been watching any cartoons, like, post-anime. I think cartoons just flew out of the window for me.
Interesting. The only one I've really watched of late is I've been catching up with Close Enough on HBO Max, which we talked about in the early days of Quarantine Chronicles, last summer. But yeah, I'm like halfway through season 2, roughly.
Oh, Harley Quinn?
Yeah. No, not Harley Quinn. Close Enough. I already finished Harley Quinn. Yeah.
Oh, Close Enough. Gotcha.
So I guess I have 2 cartoons. Yeah.
Oh, you are caught up with Harley Quinn?
Oh, I guess.
Well, season 1. Now that I think about it, I didn't watch season 2 yet.
I guess if we're talking like adult animation, then yeah, I've watched my fair share of Rick and Morty these last couple of years, but nothing from like Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or Disney. None of those cartoons.
Now, Angel, would you like to give us a laundry list of all the cartoons you've watched? Because I'm sure it's much longer than ours.
Oh man, I don't even know. I would have to like get a list, but all of those and others. It's really hard to think of any off the top of my head.
So I don't know why. Kevin, if you're
But I've kind of been watching Rick and Morty season 2 for some reason. I don't know why I just started watching it. I think it was just there, and I'm all like, I'll check out an episode.
I remember season 2 being
You also just powered through South Park.
Oh yeah, I did finish South Park. That was also interesting. All however many seasons in reverse. Which
is your brother still watching The Simpsons?
He probably caught up to the point where he decided to stop already and just, I think, left it. Because I know he was kind of keeping up with it, but it sounds like he's not anymore. My impression.
Well, I'm not sure why he would want to keep catching up with it post. Like, people always say that season 10 was the last great season. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Like up to season 15, there's some great episodes, but it's like season 21 or even.
Wait, no, it started the year before I was born. It's in the 30s now.
Okay, so it's like in season 30 and he's still watching like The Simpsons. Like, that's dedication, I guess.
I mean, I'm sure they have some good episodes, right?
Yeah, but some good episodes out of a 26 episode run, like not worth it.
It's funny you mention The Simpsons because it just clicked for me. You know what the Mitchells vs. Machines kind of reminded me of? It was a little more kid friendly. It had a Simpsons vibe, kinda. Did you pick up on that, Angel? Like, there's some like it felt kind of Simpson-y in how it escalated and how it was still about like this core group of a family of like 4 or 5. Like, did you pick up on that? Like in the same way that like, which maybe explains the Conan cameo actually, because in the same way, because he's
I don't know if that's why Conan's in there. I mean,
yeah, I don't know if that
felt like a family.
But I don't know,
thing.
but
the director's like, this feels like The Simpsons. Let's get Conan.
I don't know, but it did have kind of a Simpsons vibe. Now that I think
there's a family
in
this movie, therefore it's like The Simpsons. Therefore,
no. But I mean, like the escalation of what seems like an innocent premise into something kind of absurdist. Like it felt, I don't know. It kind of reminded me.
I mean, a lot of
kind of reminded me of The Simpsons.
Places do that.
True.
A lot of places, a lot of shows and cartoons, all that.
Yeah, especially nowadays. Like, I mean, that's definitely a very Simpsons thing. But at this point, it almost feels like it's just normal. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, scrap that hot take that wasn't fully cooked.
All right. Well,
someone out there is probably gonna be like, you know what? He's right. And to you, I say thank you, whoever you are.
I'm pretty sure we shut it down immediately. So that was Minstrel vs. Machines on Netflix, correct?
Yep. Yes, sir.
International listeners, I have no idea where you would be able to find this week.
Sony's releasing it still.
I guess.
In
they
theaters.
are. Okay.
I think they only sold the U.S. rights. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Gotcha.
But let me tell you about the Simpsons parallels. No. What was that? Angel?
Like they sold out the U.S. Wow.
I think because the U.S. was the only one that was really recoiling so hard to movies in theaters. But I don't know. I might be wrong.
All right. So going from a very kid-friendly property to a not-so-kid-friendly property, Resident Evil Village is out, which is Resident Evil's 9th main installment. It's a direct sequel to Resident Evil 7, which is the only game in the main series that I haven't played because I'm a huge pussy and the first-person nature of the game just freaked me out. Angel, you played 7, right?
Played some of it, but because we've been playing it exclusively in VR, it's not the easiest thing to just go like to just like pick up and play. So yeah, it's just taking a while. At this point, I'm just waiting for my brother to finish it, which I'm sure he's not too far from. But it's also been years.
Yeah,
no, he's like in the end game, and he just hasn't picked it back up. But I think I saw him playing it once.
To like set up the VR headset too.
And that is why I always say it'll never be mainstream. It's too much effort to do VR.
It sucks because yeah, that's true that it takes a lot of effort. I would still say it's definitely worth it, but you have to be in the right mood for it. Yeah. It's like, do I want to set this up? It's like, while sometimes you won't set it up just because you're too lazy, I'll still refuse to play the game normally because it's too cool in VR to not play it in VR. Which is why for 8, like, I'm definitely going to wait until, like, I don't know, if they ever release or there's like an inevitable PlayStation 5 VR. I feel like the game there has to be, that's going to be like a launch title for it, right? Like if they do that. Because I mean, the game's already in first person. Like I could see that being a selling point or something.
To counter Jason's claim that it will never be mainstream, I will say the Oculus Quest is probably the easiest VR headset to set up because it literally requires no wires.
True. This is true.
2, Sony has said that their second generation VR headset will only require one cable from the headset to the PlayStation, all done through a USB-C cable. So
I don't know if it's just so much the setup versus just Angel's point. You have to be in the mindset. Like you have to be like, I'm going to disconnect from everything for a few hours, and like you can't snack while you do it.
I think in the case of Resident Evil, I think in the case of Resident Evil, it's not that.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean, that's like any video game. It's like when I'm going to sit down, it's like, I'm not going to chat with anybody. I mean, I go.
Exactly. But I am less likely. You're shattering the stereotype of greasy, Cheeto fingers while you play.
I mean, I guess I'm less likely to look at a text while I'm playing. But because like when something is loading, I'll typically look at my phone during that time. But
I guess what I'm saying is I think there'll be a niche for it and a big one possibly because like the Quest is doing pretty well for itself. But what I mean is it's not like the PS6 is going to be VR only. We're never going to get to that point where VR is the format. It's always going to be a secondary format. It's never going to be fully mainstreamed in the way that like a normal game console is. It's always going to be secondary. Even to your point, kind of about the new PS5 VR, like it's still a spin-off device of sorts.
Well, we can get into the nitty-gritty off the podcast, but when it comes to Resident Evil Village, there is no VR mode, which is kind of disappointing. And apparently the VR mode for Resident Evil 7 is still locked to the PS4 version, which is a little weird. It's like, I wonder if there's some exclusivity deal there.
Is there any exclusive functionality in the PlayStation VR that other VR hasn't emulated yet?
No, not really. It's literally just head tracking.
Oh.
Which every
well,
headset
that
does.
makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so Resident Evil Village does retain 7's first-person perspective, just minus the VR-ness of it. And honestly, the only reason I played this was for content. I didn't even do it because I'm a fan of the Resident Evil games.
For the plot?
Because, yeah.
You're there for Lady Donahue, aren't you?
Donahue?
What's her name? I don't know.
I believe it's pronounced Dimitrescu? Dimitri?
Yeah, Donahue.
Like that.
It's
Something
Donahue
like that.
now. I've legally changed her name.
No, but I thought it would make a great stream if every time that I got scared, I took a shot.
Whoa.
So I did just that this
That's
past
amazing.
Tuesday, where every time I got scared, I took a shot of Tito's vodka. Which, sidebar, Tito's vodka is probably one of the most palatable vodkas out there that I've ever drank.
Yeah.
It doesn't go down like water, but it doesn't go down exactly like rubbing alcohol either. I love Tito's vodka. Made in Austin. Drink responsibly, folks. But I don't know if it was the
Sponsored by
liquid
Tito's vodka.
courage. Yeah, sponsored by Tito's vodka. But I don't know if it was the
wish.
liquid courage that kept me playing, but I was having such a blast with this game. So I had seen a couple of Resident Evil 7 Let's Plays, not necessarily from front to back, but I knew a little bit about this game's backstory, mainly like the main character. His name is Ethan Winters. In that game, in Resident Evil 7, he's looking for his wife, but like well, it's not a spoiler to say that she's there at the beginning of this game. I guess it kind of is. But regardless, like the game starts off, when you boot it up, it tells you if you want to see a small little recap of Resident Evil 7 story. And it's
cool.
it's probably about like 3 to 4 minutes. Obviously, it's not going to show you all the little details of what happened in that game, but it gives you sufficient enough information for you to not be confused as to why the characters are in the position that they are. So, like I said, it is a direct sequel to 7. And apparently 7 didn't have too many connections to the Resident Evil lore or universe. This one absolutely does, because at the beginning of the game, and this is not a spoiler, it literally takes place within the first 15 minutes of the game. You're playing as Ethan in his new house in like Europe. And at the beginning of the game, Chris Redfield attacks like the Winters house and kills Ethan's wife, which this is all in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. And kidnaps.
The one you worked so hard to save in 7? Wow.
Yeah, just boom. It reminded me of I don't know if, I don't think that you've seen these movies, Angel, but Jason, did you ever see the Bourne movies with Matt Damon?
Oh, yeah. I've seen all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, great movies. He has a love interest in the first movie that just gets killed at the beginning of the second movie.
The second
like,
you said Bourne, I
Jesus
knew where you were
Christ.
going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to well, it wasn't quite the same, but it's kind of like
G.I. Joe.
Actually, no, not at all.
The second G.I.
I
Joe
wasn't
movie
gonna
where
I was
Channing
not gonna
Tatum
reference
gets
that,
killed right at the beginning.
I was
Spoilers
going to
for
reference
G.I.
kind of how
Joe Retaliation.
Godzilla. I mean, it wasn't quite the first one to the second one, but Godzilla set up Bryan Cranston in all the marketing as the protagonist, and then he was gone in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah, it's that sort of vibe.
Yeah, so after Ethan gets attacked, he wakes up like on this dark snowy trail that leads to like a dilapidated village with like a huge castle in the background. And exploring this village and castle you will go. Right off the bat, two things hit me harder than a ton of bricks when it came to this game. One, the graphics. This is probably one of the best looking games with a realistic art direction that I've ever seen in my entire life. We've talked about it a few times, but maybe on our end. Well, actually, I don't even know if we brought this up, but the RE engine that they introduced with Resident Evil 7 is a beast of an engine, dude. This game looks so good, and the optimization for it is pretty slick. It probably is the best looking game that I've seen. Like, art style notwithstanding, because I'm sure there's way better looking games out there that with a more focus on its art direction. But the second thing was its sound design. Capcom somehow managed to make the wind blowing some of the scariest noise I've ever heard in a video game. And this is like a village, so you're constantly stepping on twigs and they crackle in your left ear, and then you're hearing some of the enemies in this game are like werewolves. And like you're just hearing their breathing and their snarling, and sometimes you'll be like
in VR.
What happened?
Nothing. How is this not going to be in VR? Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point it'll come out. Like, who knows if it's going to be next year or 10 years after this game comes out, because Resident Evil 4 is getting ported to the Oculus Quest, where you could play that game in VR. This game does have a huge Resident Evil 4 vibe as well, considering the whole village aesthetic and the castle, which I'll get into in a little bit. But I think what really sets this game apart from all the other Resident Evils for sure is the sound design. For sure. Everybody has already seen Lady Dimitrescu, and hearing
Donahue,
her
you
footsteps. What happened?
Donahue, you mean?
Yeah, Lady Donahue. And hearing her footsteps as she chases you is both the sexiest thing ever and incredibly terrifying. It just raises the hairs on my arm for sure.
Damn.
The actual gameplay is really fun too. It's very similar to 7. It is a first person shooter, I guess, but traversing the village and its enemies is incredibly fun. To sort of diversify the feel of the village, each area essentially has its own sort of landmark. There's an area that has a small creek running through it. There's an area with a wheat field. Another will have a cemetery right in the middle of that space. And it does that thing that I believe the Resident Evil 2 remake started doing, where when you enter a room or a house on the map, it will be filled in red, and then as soon as you grab all the items in that room, it goes blue. That way you don't ever have to worry about man, I wonder if there's still something in this room that I haven't found, which is one of the coolest quality of life, I guess, what would you call that, mechanics that I've ever seen in the game?
Yeah, that'd be a mechanic, I think.
Yeah. Then there are the interior sections, Lady Dimitrescu's castle. It has this gothic romance vibe with really, really nice lighting, and it's full of little secrets. And this game has tiny little side quests, where no one actually gives you a side quest, but there will be objectives on the map, and you obviously have to do something to finish that objective. There's a piano in one of the rooms, or was it a piano? No, it was some sort of mechanism where there was this machine in the middle of the room, and I found a ball and I just said, all right, let me use this ball in this machine. And then it became a little tilt game where I got to have the ball traverse this little diorama kind of thing, which was pretty fun. The other side of exploration, there is the combat, which is also pretty fun. It seems like this game does lean in a more action oriented direction as opposed to the slow burn of 7. Which is fine, because I usually have this feeling of unnerving dread whenever I enter a brand new area, and that's just gone the second that I have to shoot an enemy, because this game is very plentiful with its ammo and money, so that you could just keep buying ammo and feel like a one-man army. Oh, and I said, you can't buy ammo in this game because there is a merchant, as a nod to the merchant from RE4.
Yeah, I was about to ask, does he say the same thing when he opens his code, or?
I believe I did hear him at one point say, "What are you buying?" And then he laughs to himself and says, I stole that from a friend." Something to that degree.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. For the 5 hours that I have played of the game, this is definitely the weirdest Resident Evil game that I've played. I won't spoil exactly what makes it the weirdest, but it does get weirder than the 9 foot 6 inches vampire countess for sure. And oh god, her daughter's man. This game gets you down bad for sure. I'm digging the game a lot. I don't think that I'll go back to RE7 though, because I'm sure I'm going to feel that game will feel a little bare bones compared to this one. But I am enjoying the crap out of it for sure.
For you personally, do you feel because overall I've heard good things about the game, but the same sticking point that a lot of coworkers are just things that I've been hearing is always about the difficulty, that the game is way too easy, and that always seems to be a detriment to them. But have you had any issues with that, or you're no, this is good where it is, or did you feel it could be a little harder?
Oh, it could absolutely be a little bit harder. I am playing on normal just because I didn't want to stream this game and just keep constantly dying. So yeah, so if I wasn't streaming it, I absolutely probably would have played it on the I believe it's called hardcore or nightmare, whatever the highest difficulty is that you can get. But yeah, this game just gives you so much ammo. And then to the point where I'm like,
Damn.
I don't know if I really should upgrade my guns, because if I pump enough bullets into these guys, which, like I said, the game gives you like a stockpile of ammo. You don't really necessarily need to upgrade your weapons. And then I do that one thing where I believe Resident Evil 4 introduced it when, just bringing out your knife as Leon. I just knife. If I'm going one-on-one with an enemy, I will just knife them, dodge its attacks, keep knifing them, block, keep knifing them, so that I don't have to waste any ammo. So yeah, the game
Do you
can
have a
definitely be harder.
dodge in this game, or do you just have to like kind of strafe away?
Yeah, you just got to strafe away. But Ethan Winters, man, that guy is a one-man army, because I'm playing this on PC. If you press spacebar, he'll block. He'll just put like his hands in front of his face, and that is able to like soak up a lot of damage, to the point where like your health will not deteriorate until you're hit at least like 5 times while blocking. I'm sure it's changed for hard, but until I do like a second playthrough, I actually won't know about it.
Here's the key question, Kevin. How many shots did you have to take when you did your live stream?
So I thought that, okay, I did 10. 9 of them from scares.
Number.
What happened?
That's a healthy number, 10.
Yeah, and I recorded all of them. So after the podcast,
quite a number.
Maybe I'll be able to share some with you guys.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I had plenty of water, so the next day I wasn't hungover, but I was definitely dehydrated, which I'd rather be than have a headache, have a terrible stomach ache, and then be dehydrated,
That's the advantage of clear liquor in general, is because it doesn't have the sugars and stuff in the same way that hangover is not to the same extent.
Yeah. But
so smart move to use Tito's, drink responsibly, from Austin, Texas.
Yeah. Tito'sVodka.com/random Nintendo.
Referral code RNQC if
Yeah,
they have
there you
referral codes, which they don't, but if they did.
Yeah, and that's what I've been playing I guess this last week. Resident Evil Village. Check it out. What else we got? Angel.
What?
The season finale just happened of Invincible. Talk to us about it.
Oh yeah. As I mentioned earlier, my sister, brother-in-law, and we've been watching Invincible instead of our regularly scheduled movies. And I have heard about this comic. Well, yeah, the comic book is based off of for many years. Like, I always knew about it. It's always been one of those like, oh, you should watch this, but I feel it's hard. Like it's hard enough to sometimes like watch a show that is recommended to you. I usually try to make it a point to at least like check it out as soon as possible, Jason. But
yes,
but for a comic book, it's, I don't know, it's definitely not as easy. I feel like it's harder to check something out like that. But it was always on my radar. So when the show came out, it was like, all right, I'm definitely at least gonna watch like the first episode. And yeah, this is a great show. It's it's another superhero thing. I feel like if people aren't already, superheroes have definitely been, I guess, played out, for lack of a better term.
This is also on Amazon Prime, which already has The Boys.
Yeah, like Amazon Prime
is thematically not hugely different from The Boys.
Yeah, no, they're both adults oriented shows for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen The Boys, but I kind of sort of know the premise, and the premise is not the same. They're just both grittier, more adult-oriented superhero shows. And yeah, like essentially the show is just about consequences, and the main character, Mark Grayson, I don't know why I immediately thought of Jason. Oh, I know why. Anyway.
Hey.
Because your name rhymes with...
Say that. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, essentially, like, this is kind of like if it was more like a parody. It's not even, because I mean, it's kind of a parody, but also it isn't. But yeah, you can straight up tell like this is like
satirical.
I guess it's satirical, but it quickly grows into its own thing. But basically, in a nutshell, you have, I guess, what you could call is more like the DC universe. But what if, like, it wasn't all, I guess, if everything didn't work out the way it's supposed to. I mean, at the very least, right off the bat, I could just say I'd recommend it. at the very least check out the first episode.
Yeah, the first episode doesn't hook you up. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what will.
Yeah, because I don't want to say a lot. Like, I just want to say, watch the first episode. And then, yeah, I would just recommend it. It has a great story, great character development, great cliffhangers, great action. The animation is like somewhere between like a direct-to-TV DC movie and somewhere between theatrical and direct-to-movie. I don't know. Like sometimes it's very normal looking, but other times, like, man, you could tell like the production values were really hit there. Like also like the sound design, like they just do a great job of making impacts feel very heavy.
Oh yeah, especially in that first episode.
But yeah, like I'd recommend it. Like everything is pretty much great overall. There isn't really like any sticking point that I'm like, I don't really like that. And yeah, like I guess like I'll go into spoiler territory. I guess I could I'll put a timestamp on the same Invincible thing, or you could literally just look at the timestamp for the next topic. Because going forward, I'm definitely going to go into some spoilers. I'll try not to go into too many because I don't know if Kevin and Jason are still planning on watching the show or continuing. But if you watch the first episode, I'm probably not going to go too much beyond that. But that definitely does have a lot that I want to say. But yeah, I guess I'll go into that now. So a tool that this show really does use a lot. And when I mean a lot, I guess I'll say wisely, is gore. Like this show, like you going in, like almost like the entirety of the first episode, like isn't very there's nothing leading you on that's going to be,
but it's not extreme.
It's not,
I guess.
Yeah, it's not graphic. It's just like
it's just typical, violent beyond what you expect a cartoon to be.
It's your typical whether it's cartoon or like a Marvel movie or DC movie. It's just like, you got your punches, your people getting hurt, but no one's like dying, no one's like getting like their like heads blown up or anything. It's just like your typical kind of violence, something you would see like in a rated T kind of movie, or T, is that even a thing?
T for teen video game?
PG-13. It was the first like episode's kind of PG-13. And you're just kind of like, all right, like this is kind of what I'm getting into. Like, all right, the character's kind of cool. Essentially, Mark Grayson, he is the kid of this world's equivalent of Superman. And there are definitely more parallels to DC/Dark Horse than anything else, is because you do literally have like a Justice League. You have like your equivalent of the Flash, your Wonder Woman, your Martian Manhunter, your Batman.
Aquaman.
Like they're literally all there. Oh yeah, your Aquaman, who's like literally a fish. And the funny thing is that like there is a DC movie called Justice League Doom, where Batman, the whole point is that the Justice League finds out that Batman had a contingency plan if any of the Justice League members ever went rogue, because like, oh, they could get mind controlled or something, and like what if Superman like lost his mind or something, like he would be pretty much like almost impossible to stop. He would just have like a plan for everybody, and of course someone finds that plan and enacts it, like how to stop them. But in this one, Mark Grayson's dad is this world's Superman, and he's Omni-Man, played by J. Jonah Jameson, who is some other
J.K. Simmons.
Sure. Yeah, J.K. Simmons, who is apparently really good in Whiplash, but I have not seen that movie or even knew about that movie.
He is amazing in Whiplash. That movie's probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
He's also pretty great as the Yellow M&M, which, if you didn't know, is one of his earlier acting
careers.
Like, he has kept going. Yep, he is the Yellow M&M.
Huh. Yeah, well,
a lot of people don't know that.
It sounds just like him. Yeah, I'm surprised.
Yeah, but it's one of those things you don't realize until someone says it, and they're like, "Oh my
exactly.
God. Yeah,
oh my God, he was the Yellow M&M.
He still is, not past tense, current tense.
Oh, he's still the Yellow M&M?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He continued the role. At least I think he is. I haven't heard that he stopped. Because, I keep a very close eye on the M&M voice cast, apparently. But yeah, I think he still is.
Yeah, well, J. Jonah, he does a great Omni-Man. Like, just his performance, like, I don't know, he almost kind of steals the show a little bit, just his presence. But yeah, in this universe, he's clearly like the top hero. He's not part of this Justice League equivalent called like the Global Protectors. He's just kind of like his own thing, saving the world. He just kind of helps whenever he wants. But yeah, the Global Protectors are like one thing, and he's just like solo hero that he kind of thinks he's like above that. Or yeah, because the Global Protectors essentially are like government sanctioned team that, like whenever they're needed, they're on call, but Omni-Man will kind of patrol on his own and go wherever he needs to go. And yeah, so the show pretty much starts like that. Mark hasn't developed his powers yet, and at some point towards the end of the show, you find out that he does. Like, he just suddenly gets them. It's like, I guess, like through puberty, because he's a Viltrumite, and just like Superman, like, Omni-Man came from the planet Viltrum, and he came to Earth he was pretty much like assigned that planet to be his protector, and he fell in love, had a kid, and now his kid has powers. So now he's like going to train him up and, teach him how to be the best hero. But already you could tell, like, they're planting the seeds of things, because as soon as he finds out he has his powers, he isn't exactly super happy about it. But obviously the biggest, like, what the hell moment that people talk about are pretty much the ending, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I mentioned, this show goes from like PG-13 violence to, I guess, R. Like,
So theaters would probably not show this.
Yeah, like, I don't think I've
Really?
ever seen anything this visceral and graphic. And that's not even to mention how much more intense it gets later on. Like, holy moly. Like, damn, that last episode alone, Jesus, like, I've never seen that. Like, we've seen, like, cities get wrecked in plenty of movies. We've seen, like, waves of soldiers get killed in various movies, but I don't know what it is about this one, but it's just way more intense. I mean, just to kind of give you an example, well, I guess even going back to that first episode, yeah, so the global defenders get called into
Guardians of the Globe?
Yeah, the Guardians of the Globe. It's one of those two. Guardians of the Globe or Global Defenders. They're what do you call them, the Guardians? They get called into their headquarters mysteriously, and they're like, "Well, who called us?" And then they see Omni-Man. They're like, "Oh, Omni-Man, did you call us?" And then suddenly he like attacks them, and he pretty much kills them all. He like also barely survives. He's not invincible. Get it? Neither is Invincible. He's very much vulnerable. They make that pretty clear throughout the series, but he's getting there, I guess. But yeah, like, there's a moment where like the Flash equivalent is like punching him, and he grabs his arm and then like grabs his head, and he just squeezes it, and they pretty much like zoom in on the Crimson Flash or something. They just zoom into his head, and you see like his eyes slowly bulging up until like it just splatters, and they show the whole thing, or they show like decapitations, people getting ripped apart at the seams. They show the guts growing everywhere.
Before the Crimson Flash, or whatever his name is, before he actually gets his head crushed in, you're seeing him try to essentially punch Omni-Man in the chest, and he's punching him so fast that at some point his hands go
break.
From punching, and you see them just like covered in blood, and
he's just like punching with like meat.
Basically.
So yeah, the show there's a lot of that, but the great thing about the show is that it uses it sparingly. Like, I mean, there's definitely, after you see that first episode, you could pretty much expect some level of gore in every episode, but it's used intermittently, like, so that it doesn't, like, become, it's always shocking, pretty much, like, because you never know, like, when it's going to happen, and when it does, it's always like, oh my god, like, damn, like, this is brutal. Like, they're good at mediating that.
What episode is it where they have those, like, time traveling, or not time traveling, but like those bugs invade? Is that the second episode?
Yeah, that's the second episode.
So, like, even in the second episode, I think when you said that you weren't sure why this one hits harder than a standard movie where you see, like, cities getting destroyed, it's probably because those, like, in Avengers is not going to show the casualties. This show shows you the casualties and exactly how they were killed. So, like, in that second episode where, like, these bug aliens invade, you just see a lot of civilians just get, not, like, just only vaporized, but, like, cut in half. There's an old lady who is just pretty much decimated.
Invincible catches her and tries to, like, he catches her, but then he falls into, like, a ditch, and he's like, "Oh, are you okay?" But, like, her arms and legs are broken.
Yeah. And the only thing that I can think of that comes close to this is The Boys, where there's a I guess slight, it's not really a spoiler, but there's a scene in the second season involving a crowd of people and like laser vision, and that's all I'll say. But yeah, that's the only thing that I think comes close to it, which is funny considering, like I said, this is also coming from Amazon.
Yeah, what is it
Yeah.
with the dude? Like Jeff Bezos looks like a supervillain. He's making all these shows that show like how violent superheroes can actually be. What is he trying to say? Like, what is his ulterior motive here?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this show is it's fun. It's cool seeing the new heroes introduced. A lot of the villains are also really interesting. Like there's these two blue Thanos
Oh,
looking
those two,
dudes
the
that
brothers?
the clones, the
Or no, they're
brothers
the
that
clones that, yeah.
yeah the clone, and yeah they're voiced by I forget his name, but he plays the Shredder in the 2013 Ninja Turtles. He actually does a lot of voices. He's also the principal in American Dad, but. These like in the beginning they kind of feel like they're very generic, like nothing interesting really about them, like they're just strong dudes. But they even develop those characters to the point that I don't know, they're pretty cool. They're like one of my favorite characters just because they're essentially super geniuses that like one of them always has a way to clone the other in case one dies. But you also find out why they're always arguing about like who's the clone, and there's like even a point to that. But yeah, nothing is ever what it seems. A lot of character relationships are always moving, and yeah, even the title character Invincible, like you never feel like he's ever like it doesn't feel like the show. Like I don't know, even though he has, or at least you're assuming, because I'm trying not to spoil this show to myself with the comics because I know that has officially concluded, and I heard the show is pretty close to it. I'm sure he has plot armor. I'm sure he's gonna make it to the end, but the show still does a pretty good job of making it feel like he doesn't. Like I don't know. There's something to be said about a show where you feel like the main character can die at any moment. It almost gave me like Attack on Titan vibes, but at some point I think that kind of went away. But yeah, I don't know. At least check it out. Watch the first episode. If it doesn't get you by then it probably isn't for you. But I think like by the second or third, we were like already like hooked. And there's only 8 episodes, so yeah. And that last one, ooh man. And I'm sure by now many of you have seen that meme that has been flying around with like Omni-Man standing in front of Invincible pointing at his head like think. And it's just been reference to death and a bunch of different things. But yeah, that's Invincible. I like on that.
Jason, are you planning on watching the show at all?
Yeah, I think we'll check out the first episode. Originally, when I was with Angel yesterday, the idea was, I should watch it before we record, but like that didn't happen. But yeah, I think I'm going to try and check it out maybe today.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, I'm just curious to what extent, because like the way you guys are describing the gore, I'm like that. No, there's no way. So now I'm really curious to what extent it is.
Oh, it takes you by surprise for sure too.
Yeah, even knowing it's coming, like, because you're probably still gonna go like, it's a cartoon. How bad could it be? It's like, well, that's not bad.
Yeah,
you say while curling into the fetal position.
Yeah, if you're someone that doesn't normally watch gory things, it'll definitely get a reaction from you. I know this because like my sister was definitely reacting every time something like that happened.
I can only imagine.
So, last thing on the docket. This past week, I binged a very popular anime that premiered last year and just wrapped up I think it was in February or March. So I've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen, which in the anime community basically became sort of the anime of the year. I think the last anime that hit it this big was probably Demon Slayer back in 2019, which I finally actually finished after starting it a year ago. So I'm really looking forward to finally seeing Mugen Train. Demon Slayer, like a 9 out of 10 anime for me. I don't know how you felt about it, Angel.
Oh yeah, the same. I really love that show. I hate that it has that one character that I'm like just ignore him. I'm sure he'll get better. I mean, he has like some badass moments, but I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He's that character that if the whole people don't get turned off by the show because of him. But other than that, I just love that the main character is so likable. But anyway, you're saying.
Yeah, so I finally finished 2019's hottest anime, so I decided to watch 2020's hottest anime, Jujutsu Kaisen, like I said. But unlike Demon Slayer, where like after finally finishing it, I felt the hype was justified. Jujutsu Kaisen, I found it very enjoyable, but it was not nearly worth, in my opinion, not worth the hype that it got. Because like it didn't even get close to the highs of Demon Slayer. To explain what I guess I want to say real quick, but just bear with me here. So, in this world, universe, or whatever you want to call it, every human gives off this energy called cursed energy. I'm going to say the word cursed a lot in the next 2 minutes, okay?
I'm going to keep count.
Yeah. So,
I'll let you know how many when you're done.
humans give off this energy called cursed energy, and many people in the world can't control the release of said cursed energy. And so, with so much cursed energy out in the world, these monsters are created, and these monsters are called curses. To defeat these curses, there are Jujutsu sorcerers, who are people who can actually control their cursed energy and use it against said curses. And then young sorcerers are taught how to control their cursed energy at I believe it's the Tokyo Metropolitan Curse School. And the main character that we follow, Yuji, the way that he gets involved into this world is by basically he eats the finger of this ancient curse called Sukuna. And sorcerers are now basically told to kill Yuji, since Sukuna is essentially, he's like revived into Yuji's body. But instead of just killing him outright, there are still 19 other Sukuna fingers in the world. And so they decide, we'll just have Yuji eat all of Sukuna's fingers, and then we'll kill him. That way we can just get rid of Sukuna once and for all. How many times did I say cursed?
You know, a lot and a little. 10.
Yeah,
I
and
thought it'd be more, but also when I stopped thinking about it, 10's a lot.
yeah, and I absolutely could have gone further into detail, because they throw so much cursed jargon into this, where you have curses, you have cursed energy, then we get into cursed items, cursed weapons. Every episode at least has the word cursed in it, at least. Yeah, probably about 10 times. So
You're
if
just
you
at
watch
the episode quota in that
Yeah.
case.
So, like, if you watch anime, and especially, like, the big ones, the description I just gave probably sounds very, very tropey, and that's because it absolutely is. So, like, right off the bat, you have a school and a main character who has an ancient evil inside of them, just like Naruto. You've got these evil monsters that are in Tokyo that have to be destroyed, just like Bleach. And I guess, like, a light spoiler for the second half of the season, but, like, this being a shonen anime about a school, it has to have a tournament/tuning exam arc that gets invaded by the villains, just like in My Hero Academia
Wow.
and Naruto. Yeah. Even the main character, Yuji's teacher, Gojo, looks just like Kakashi, to the point where they have the same hair color and same hairstyle, except Gojo covers both of his eyes and not his mouth, unlike Kakashi, who only hides one eye and the entire bottom half of his face. So,
Like, how can we look inspired but not plagiarize?
but exactly. So, I feel like the show does very little things. It doesn't do a lot of original things. Like, maybe the whole curse. I can't even know, because then it just feels like Bleach. The show doesn't seem original at all, especially the first few episodes. And then it gets into the groove of things. But like I said, then the tuning exam arc essentially starts. But where it does stand out from all those other shows is the animation. The show is slick as hell. It's done by Studio Mappa, who did that Anus Gland anime that Angel talked about, Anus Ball Z or whatever it was called.
Great name.
And then they also did this final season of Attack on
Summer
Titan.
Sunlight or something like that.
Yeah.
I like
Anus Ball
Kevin's
Z.
name better. Yeah, very good.
So they also did this last season of Attack on Titan, which Angel and I decided not to talk about, because even though they never mentioned it, the final season was split into 2 parts, and so we're still waiting on that second half. And
I was wondering why you guys said you were done with it, but didn't bring it up here. That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, and like, we probably won't get into it too much, but I was pretty disappointed in the animation quality of that first half. I think the reason that I thought it was a downgrade from the previous seasons is because Studio Mappa essentially poured a bunch of their budget into this show specifically, which would make sense because apparently the manga is one of the best selling in Japan. So they're like, okay, we should probably give this the like everything that we can. So unfortunately, Attack on Titan had to have that dip in quality, while this show like looks amazing. Like, the fight scenes in the show look like spectacular. And whenever there is no big action scene, it does sort of look like your standard anime. But as soon as the battles begin, you know that you're about to see something like really, really cool. For like as samey as the plot points may be, the actual art style and like character designs I think are really, really cool. Whenever the show decides to show you what cursed energy actually looks like, the like aura effects really, really pop out, contrasted against the art style of the show, because the cursed energy has its own sort of art style. Like and probably my favorite thing, one thing that this show definitely has over something like Naruto or Bleach, or like any of the shows that it clearly takes inspiration from, is its two openings. The openings have way better animation than most anime shows will probably ever have in their lifetime. They're insanely beautiful. And the first ending is like also really, really catchy. But yeah, aside from the animation, I can't really tell why this show exploded in popularity. The main character is sort of does like remind me of Tanjiro from Demon Slayer a lot. Like, he is a very likable main character, and I know a lot of women love his teacher, which his teacher right off the bat they tell you that he is OP, and then when you actually see him in action in the anime, it's like, oh yeah, this guy clearly is the best. Sort of in the way that Kakashi was in Naruto. But yeah, like as a whole, I don't think it's as good as everyone makes it out to be. But it definitely looks way better than any of those shows. Although I will say, even at its best, I don't think it comes close to that fight in Demon Slayer where Tanjiro and Nezuko like team up to defeat that one spider demon, which I think is like the pinnacle of like animation.
It's like I was watching a theatrical film or something. Like,
yeah, exactly. And like I said, some of the fights do look insane in the show, for sure, but like nothing to that level. And like now they're going to adapt, because this manga anime is sort of, I guess, how would I say this, was preceded by this like one shot, the what are they called? Mangekas? Mangekos? What are they called? The guys that write and draw?
Oh, mangaka.
Mangaka? Yeah, mangaka. Yeah. Mangaka. Yeah, so before Jujutsu Kaisen, he did like this one shot. And then he did Jujutsu Kaisen, which I guess like took place in the same universe and has some of the same characters from that one shot. And so MAPPA is now adapting that into a theatrical film, and they're calling it Jujutsu Kaisen 0. So hopefully that movie is going to look awesome. But then that just makes me a little bit reserved for Attack on Titan's final half. And who knows, even if it'll come close to the quality of Mugen Train, which I believe I'm seeing this upcoming Tuesday. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's my Jujutsu Kaisen hot take. Everybody seems to love this anime. And while I definitely really, really like it, I don't know if the hype was what killed it for me. But yeah, that's that in a nutshell. And I think with that, that'll end this episode, unless you guys got another thing.
Not here.
Really?
Angelito?
Wow.
Did you say really or not really? What?
Oh, no.
I'm surprised I have nothing to say.
Yeah, I'm surprised Jason didn't have like a Conan anecdote or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to hear that. Well, his show ends on June 24th on TBS, so then he moves to HBO
you will
Max
probably
for a
talk
weekly
about
show.
that, right?
Oh, when the time comes, absolutely. Yeah.
June 24th.
Post-mortem.
What are the next big releases like coming up?
In terms of movies?
I forgot to ask this, but when does Raya and the Last Dragon come out?
Didn't already?
It's been out since March. And it's been out since March.
Oh.
But it was only a Disney Plus Premier Access title.
Oh, that's
Or do you mean like for any, like on the pink?
I think it hits regular Plus in like July or August or something.
Oh, when does Black Widow come out?
July 9th. Nope.
Oh, so
Second.
we gotta wait.
No, 9th. 2nd? 9th? Somewhere there. But Loki is in early to mid-June.
Early to mid-June.
I don't remember the date.
Okay, so that's probably the next big... I have no idea what we're going to talk about in the next episode, but...
Dude, I could go down a rabbit hole. Here's a great tease. I could go down a rabbit hole of fever dream TV shows that shouldn't exist and are not necessarily good, but are somehow starting to sink their claws into me.
Oh, you're finally going to talk about... Okay, I won't say what it is, but...
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. But
next episode
I can finally dive into that. Yep.
This
There's
weird
two of them
addiction
now.
that
There's two of them now.
there's two of them now.
So.
Okay. Well, I guess in that case, if we're gonna be talking about reality TV, I guess I got one show that I can talk about, just
All right.
absolutely trash that I'm enthralled by.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd ever be into reality anything, and yet.
Yeah. So our next episode will be up on the 30th of May, assuming everything goes according to plan. Next week we will have a brand new episode of Random Nintendo, where I don't know what we're talking about in that episode either.
Nintendo has yet to inform us. We shall see. We'll see what the news cycle looks like this week.
We'll see.
Well, what a tease of a show. What are we going to talk about? I don't know, but come along and find out.
Yeah. So, I guess that's all the housekeeping. Let us know what you thought about the episode in the comment section, either on our YouTube, where we are randomnintendo.com, or on the blog post. You could listen to this. You're already listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, so I'm not even going to do the whole rigmarole of podcasting apps. On Twitter, you can follow us at Random Nintendo or our individual accounts. Jason is at JSR7. Angel is at Weiro_O, WEIRO_O, and I am Kevin Gomi. And that'll do it. Jason, final word.
Get vaccinated, people.